There's a quiet hum to the world of an INTJ, the sound of systems being analyzed and strategies forming. But don't mistake this quiet for passivity or their logic for immunity to the raw force of anger. That's a profound misunderstanding. When you push an INTJ past their breaking point, you don't unleash a chaotic storm. You activate a chillingly precise protocol. The game board isn't flipped in a rage. It's deliberately packed away because the game itself has just been deemed unworthy. To decode an INTJ's anger, we must understand why it can seem so foreign to witness. The INTJ personality type, part of frameworks like the Myers-Briggs type indicator, is defined by introversion, intuition, thinking, and judging. This creates someone who lives in a world of ideas and grand strategies. Their default setting is analysis, not reaction. Unlike the hot, spontaneous anger most people experience, the INTJ's process is different. Many who identify as INTJ report a deep-seated hatred for being controlled by anything, especially their own emotions. Emotions can feel like volatile, messy data points that cloud judgment. Anger, specifically, can feel like a cognitive failure where logic has been compromised. This doesn't mean they don't feel anger, they do. But the internal process is one of containment and analysis. When something triggers a flash of fury, the instinct isn't to express it, but to capture and dissect it. Their mind asks, "What is this? Why is it happening? What's the root cause, and what's the most efficient way to eliminate the source of this disruption?" This is why watching an INTJ get angry is so unnerving. You're not seeing someone lose their temper. You're seeing someone who has identified a fundamental flaw in the system, and that flaw might be you. So if you've been on the receiving end of this icy response, or if you're an INTJ trying to figure out your own internal wiring, this is your guide. When an INTJ's anger is triggered, it rarely shows up as a single explosive event. It's often described as an escalating process. It's crucial to remember that these are patterns self-reported in the MBTI community, not hard science. Individual experiences will always vary based on maturity and stress. Stage 1. The glitch in the system. The first sign is almost never loud. It's a sudden, heavy quiet. This isn't the comfortable silence of an introvert recharging. This is a silence with weight, a glitch in the conversational rhythm. Where you expected an analytical comeback or a dry joke, you get nothing. The air goes still. This silence is an active process. Internally, the INTJ's mind has hit a critical error because something you said or did violated a core principle. They're not ignoring you. They're rebooting. This silence often comes with the famous INTJ death stare. It's not a look of emotional rage, but one of intense, piercing analysis. Their focus narrows onto you, but they're not really seeing a person anymore. They're seeing a problem. Their mind is rapidly recategorizing you from asset to systemic flaw. This stage feels so unsettling because it's a sudden jump from engaged participant to detached observer. It's the calm before a storm of calculations. Stage 2. The data collection phase. Once the initial shock passes, the INTJ moves into data collection. The anger isn't vented. It's converted into fuel for their analytical engine. Their mission is now to understand the problem and calculate the most effective response. During this phase, they might seem back to normal, but they are watching. They'll observe your behavior, listen to your words, and analyze your motives with a new, critical intensity. Every interaction is a data point. They might ask sharp, seemingly random questions to test your consistency and logic, looking for patterns. Was this a one-time mistake or a character flaw? This is an investigation. They are building a case inside their head. connecting dots you didn't even know existed. An offhand comment from 6 months ago might suddenly click into place as evidence. You might just feel the dynamic has shifted. The INTJ seems more distant, interacting from behind a wall of detached analysis. They aren't trying to understand how you feel. They're trying to decide if you're a problem that can be fixed or one that must be eliminated. Stage 3. The surgical strike. After the data is collected and the case is built, the silence is broken. This isn't a shouting match. It's a surgical strike. Having analyzed the situation, the INTJ will have pinpointed the core of the problem, the flaw in your logic, the hypocrisy in your stance, or the error in your judgment. They will then state this flaw with a few carefully chosen and devastatingly precise words. This verbal takedown is designed for efficiency. From their perspective, it's not meant to be cruel. It's the most direct way to communicate the truth. They cut through emotional fluff, going straight for the heart of the matter, often using your own words against you to show a logical inconsistency. There's no yelling. To the INTJ, that's a sledgehammer where a scalpel will do. The goal is to dismantle your argument, not your character, though it can feel the same. For example, instead of complaining to HR about a coworker stealing work, an INTJ might wait for a meeting. When the colleague presents a flawed idea, they might calmly say, "That conclusion is wrong because you've misunderstood the foundational data you presented as your own." Checkmate. It is a controlled, logical detonation. If you're getting value from this deep dive into the INTJ psyche, whether you are one or are just trying to understand one, hit that like button. It helps us know we're on the right track and tells YouTube to share this guide with others who might need it. Now let's get to the most infamous stage of all. Stage 4. The door slam. When the surgical strike fails, or the problem is too severe for logic to fix, the INTJ moves to the most definitive stage, the door slam. This term, popular in the MBTI community, isn't passive-aggressive ghosting. It's a quiet, deliberate, and often permanent erasure. The door slam is a last resort. It happens when the INTJ concludes a person is an irredeemable systemic flaw. You're no longer a problem to be solved. You're a source of chaos. To keep engaging is illogical. The most efficient solution is cutting off the problem at its source. This is an act of self-preservation. They delete your number, block you on social media, and archive your emails. If you work together, interactions become purely transactional. They won't talk badly about you. They'll rarely talk about you at all. A common misconception is that this is done out of hatred. While anger was the spark, the door slam itself is often an emotionless, logical act to restore peace. Reconciliation isn't impossible, just highly improbable. The door slam isn't a negotiation tactic. It's a verdict. Stage 5. The aftermath. What happens after the strike is delivered or the door is slammed? For the person on the other side, it's often chilling confusion. There was no big fight, no climax, just an ending. The sudden coldness can feel like a deep, personal rejection with no explanation. You're left wondering what you did wrong, but it probably wasn't one moment, but 1,000 tiny data points leading to a final conclusion. For the INTJ, it's different. Contrary to the cold and unfeeling stereotype, many report feeling regret. Not for the action taken, but regret that it was necessary. They regret the energy spent, that their judgment about a person was wrong, and that they were forced to deal with unnecessary drama. The stereotype is that anger fades quickly once the problem is solved. For a mature INTJ, this is often true. However, Less healthy or stressed INTJ can get stuck ruminating on the betrayal of a core value. The conflict is over, but the data has been stored and will inform their strategies for a long time. To understand INTJ anger, we must look at the why. Their anger is triggered by violations of core principles, a fundamental assault on their operating system. 1. Intellectual dishonesty. An INTJ's ultimate loyalty is to the truth, as determined by logic and evidence. Willful ignorance, twisting facts, using logical fallacies, or outright lying are seen as the ultimate betrayal. When someone knowingly argues a false point to save face or dismisses data because it doesn't fit their feelings, the INTJ sees corruption. It makes engagement impossible because the foundation of the discussion is a sham. 2. Weaponized incompetence and inefficiency. As systems thinkers, INTJ have a low tolerance for willful incompetence. This isn't about honest mistakes. This is about someone who consistently fails to perform, refuses to learn, or creates more work for others through laziness. When this incompetence disrupts a system the INTJ is part of, it's not just an annoyance, it's sabotage. It's sand in the gears of a machine they're trying to keep running smoothly. 3. Injustice and hypocrisy. Many INTJ have a powerful, if private, sense of justice based on logical fairness and consistency. When they see someone treated unfairly, rules applied inconsistently, or a person in power abusing their position, it can trigger a deep, righteous fury. They become the defender of the principle. Their anger is aimed at the hypocrisy of someone who preaches one thing while doing another, or the illogical nature of a system that produces unjust results. They feel forced to step in, not out of pity, but because the system itself is broken. 4. Emotional manipulation. INTJ are wary of big emotional displays, knowing how easily they can be used for manipulation. Trying to control them with guilt trips, passive aggression, or crocodile tears will almost certainly backfire. Their intuition spots the hidden agenda behind the drama. They see it as a dishonest and illogical tactic to bypass reason by exploiting a perceived weakness. This doesn't just fail, it destroys the manipulator's credibility. 5. Violation of autonomy and personal space. Autonomy is sacred to an INTJ. Their independence in thought and action is core to their identity. As introverts, they also need personal space, both physical and mental, to recharge. Intrusions, whether from someone overbearing, emotionally needy, or constantly demanding their time, can feel like an assault. Micromanagement is an especially powerful trigger, as it violates their autonomy and questions their competence simultaneously. When someone tries to control them, their response is to withdraw, build higher walls, and, if necessary, remove the intrusion from their life. Navigating a conflict with an INTJ can feel like defusing a bomb with a logic puzzle. Emotional pleas fall flat, and aggression hits a wall of calm. Resolution is possible if you understand their operating system. This isn't about winning, it's about restoring a functional system. 1. Give them space immediately. The moment you sense that shift, the silence, the stare, the best thing you can do is give them space. Don't press them or ask, "Are you okay?" Probing for an emotional response when they're in logical quarantine will only make things worse. Say something calm like, "I see you need a minute. Let's talk later when you're ready," and then walk away. This shows respect for their process and can de-escalate the situation. 2. Communicate with facts, framed logically. When you re-engage, lead with logic. INTJ process conflict best through a logical framework. Instead of saying, I feel like you're being unfair. Frame your point with evidence. Try, when I did X, the outcome was Y. My intention was Z. Can you help me understand where the process broke down from your perspective? This reframes the conflict from a battle of feelings to collaborative problem solving. If you must discuss feelings, present them as data. The factual outcome of your action was that I felt undermined, which is now impacting my ability to work efficiently. Here, the feeling is a consequence creating a new, logical problem. 3. Apologize with precision and a plan. If you were wrong, a vague "I'm sorry" won't cut it. To an INTJ, a generic apology is meaningless because it doesn't prove you understand the root cause. An effective apology must be specific and include a plan. It should sound like, "I apologize for overriding your decision. It was an overstep, and I see now that it undermined the system we agreed on. In the future, I'll bring disagreements to you privately first. I was wrong." This shows you know what you did, understand the principle you violated, and have a plan to prevent it from happening again. 4. Do not dismiss their critique. When an INTJ delivers that surgical strike, it's natural to get defensive. Their brutal honesty can feel like a personal attack. But if you can resist that urge and listen, you'll often find a valuable, if painfully delivered, truth. Don't dismiss their point as them overreacting. To them, they're just being accurate. Instead, try to parse the logic. "Okay, I hear you saying my process is inefficient. Can you walk me through where you see the bottleneck?" By engaging with the content of their anger, you show them you're a problem solver, not just a source of emotional static. If you're an INTJ, you know that anger can be deeply uncomfortable. Suppressing it can lead to long-term stress. A better approach is to build a toolkit for processing anger in a way that aligns with your natural strengths, turning that disruptive energy into a catalyst for change. 1. Embrace strategic solitude. Your instinct to withdraw when angry is a good one. Give yourself at least 15 to 30 minutes of uninterrupted alone time. This isn't avoidance, it's triage. During this time, your brain can shift out of reactive mode and back into analysis. Go for a solitary walk or just put on headphones. The goal is to reduce external noise so you can untangle the emotional knot. 2. Name and diagram the emotion. Emotions can feel like an alien language, so translate them into a system you understand. In a journal or a blank document, start mapping it out. Name it. I am feeling anger. Then, ask the key questions. What was the trigger? What core principle was violated? What are the facts? Creating a flowchart or mind map externalizes the emotion, moving it from a messy feeling into a structured data set you can solve. 3. Channel the energy into a system. Anger is a burst of energy that becomes toxic if it just sits there. Channel that energy into a task, ideally one that's both physical and solitary. Go for a hard run or lift weights to burn off the physical stress. Or channel it into a complex project, like reorganizing your workspace. This diverts the energy away from the source of your anger and uses it to create order and progress, restoring your sense of internal balance. 4. Design the solution. Once the initial intensity has faded and you've analyzed the root cause, your greatest strength comes into play. Strategy. Your anger has successfully flagged a flaw in a system. Now, your job is to design the fix. Is the problem a recurring issue with a colleague? Architect a new communication protocol. Is it an inefficient workflow? Map out a better one and present it logically. By focusing on building a solution, You transform yourself from a victim of the situation to the architect of its improvement. The anger of an INTJ is one of the most misunderstood aspects of personality theory. It's often seen as cold or cruel, when it's really the final, logical output of a long, exhausting internal process. It starts with the silent shock of a violated principle, a glitch in the system. It can evolve into intense data collection, and if unresolved, lead to a precise surgical strike or the finality of the door slam. These are anecdotal patterns, not scientific certainties. For many INTJ, this process isn't a loss of control, but an attempt to assert it in the face of chaos. It's not about the absence of emotion, but about the drive to analyze and use it for a purpose. Resolution. Triggers like dishonesty, injustice, and inefficiency are assaults on their logical worldview. Understanding this helps us see INTJ anger not as a character flaw, but as a complex defense mechanism. For those facing it, resolution lies in respecting the process. Give them space, use facts, and show you understand the principle that was broken. For INTJ themselves, mastering this internal fire means channeling its energy into the strategic improvements they are uniquely gifted to design. What are your experiences with this? Are you an INTJ who relates, or have you been on the receiving end? Share your story in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring the complexities of personality, be sure to subscribe.